I only have one rule. Everyone fights, no one quits.
Welcome to WTC Squadcast, a podcast focusing on international matters, tournaments, communities, and the World Team Championship. The WTC is a proud partner of the T-Sports Network, Best Coast Pairings, and is sponsored by The Army Painter. If you'd like to support the podcast and the WTC, please visit our Patreon at www.patreon.com/WTC Squadcast. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the WTC Squadcast, Into the Squad. In this podcast we get a deeper insight into the specific teams, how do they work, how do they form their teams, and how do their local 40k community works. I'm Işık and today we have Heiðar from Team Iceland. Thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
So, can you introduce yourself for us please?
Yeah, I'm Heiðar Þór. I am the team captain for Iceland for now. Okay, yeah, hi, I'm Heiðar Þór. I'm the captain for Team Iceland now. And
Like, how old are you? How long have you been playing for 40k? That's actually more important to me.
I'm 25 years of age right now, and I've been playing Warhammer since probably like 10, or started at least at 10. Can't say I have been playing competitively since then. But yeah.
Okay, so that since you were 10 or for 10 years? I didn't get that.
Yeah, sorry, since I was 10, so for like 15 years.
That's longer than I am. Than I had been playing, so you got me beat there. So how did you hear about the WTC? How did you decide to become a more competitive player?
I remember in like 2013, some of the guys from Team Iceland were playing with us. That was the first mention I got, and then it went away for a bit. They stopped going, and it really started to get my attention just before the tournament in 2019. There was a lot of media discussion around it, and I wanted to join.
So, then at that point you decided to form the team, or were you elected by the community to become the captain?
I talked to a couple of the guys about it. Our former captain is a Danish person that moved to LA a long time ago. So I decided to go after the captaincy. So just someone would have it for us and starting to gather a team.
Okay, so it's just I'll just do it on mentality, which is nice. That's usually how teams start forming when there hadn't been a team for a while. Can you describe the Iceland community, the 40k community there? How many people do you guys play competitive in general, or more casual like that?
Yeah, we have a single store in Reykjavik. And the community evolves a bit much around that. There are popping up small places here and there around Iceland. But now we are holding every 4 to 5 weeks a 14-man RTT tournaments here. And we are just starting to hold TTs every 6 months. We just held, a 24-man TT that got... had a lot of people on the waiting list this last month, and we are starting to pump that up.
Oh, good.
So everything is going great, I would say.
That's not bad actually. Especially if you'd like us to have the community die down a bit, and especially with COVID, I assume that was a that was an important factor as well, like the rest of the world. Uh, but 24-person for like Iceland is not that big of a country. But it's still pretty good. So do you guys play more competitively, or are you more casually inclined in general, like the community?
Say both. My group is definitely more competitive, but we also have groups that are more just playing around, having fun. But yeah, I would say like the group that usually goes to RTT is like a 10, 15 man
Yeah, okay.
group is competitive, and some of them are extremely competitive, going abroad a lot.
I was going to mention that. There has been like people have been telling me that the Iceland guys have been traveling a lot compared to uh, like like obviously there are some people who travel to almost every tournament they can, but with Iceland it's compared to the size of the community, you guys seem to have traveled a lot and make an impression abroad.
Yeah, it's actually very short to go from Iceland to Britain. It's like a 3-hour flight, and we've also been going to Netherlands and some of the Scandinavians, and we always try to go some guys together and having markers with the Icelandic flag, and we're maybe it's a bit easier to spot us than other people, us having the Icelandic flag and such. But yeah, we have definitely been active in the tournaments abroad.
Yeah, so how would you compare the, maybe calling it meta might be incorrect, but like do you think you hold yourselves at the foreign tournaments, or are you still catching up as skill and play level? That's what I meant.
I think we are pretty well matched, at least the guys that are going abroad. We had a 5-man group going to London GT. 4 of us went 4-1, and 1 guy went 3-2. That's fine. And we also made a splash at Las Vegas. And I believe we have a lot of big fishes in a very small pond here.
Yeah, that sure sounds like it. Like everybody getting like you said, four person getting a 4-1, and the other person getting a 3-2. It's actually quite a good, uh, like good record if you consider that the London GT is quite a big and a highly competitive tournament. So, uh, so it is going to be interesting to see because uh, I don't mean this to disparage, but when Iceland attended in 2013 and 14, which were the only 2 years they attended, they were the last place. I haven't been playing that, at least in the ETC scene, so I don't know what was the occasion, but it seems like people might be underestimating Iceland by checking the record and saying, "Oh, they're just going to play casual." But I did. It seems like you guys are taking this very seriously and actually quite competitive and can make an impression. Would you agree with that, or am I missing something?
No, I would agree. It's like 8 years ago they went last time. They went, 2013, 2014. I believe they won best sportsman both years. And yeah, it's a very long time ago. Everything has changed a lot. So I don't think those results are anything to go by.
Yeah, and at this point, even the most closest tournament is 3 years away, which is in a different edition. It's near almost useless when it comes to try to gauge the uh, this year's strength or skill level to try to compare it to past year. It's almost a guessing game, which is nice. It's going to be a blank slate, and it feels like there's going to be lots of surprises too, which I'm looking forward to it. Uh, you mentioned that you guys have like 14, 15 competitive players, but obviously the WTC is a squad of 8. How do you plan to pick the 8 persons? Like, are you going to have tournaments, or as the captain, are you going to pick all the 8-player roster yourself?
try to compare the tournament results and also get guys that want to fly over. So that is number one. That is definitely number one. If a person is able to come and fly over, and then we try to compare the tournament results, and the third and the last is usually we can't go with 10. We can't go with 8 Space Marine players. So that is also, we have that also in consideration. But it hasn't really been a problem now. We managed to get exactly the 8 guys we wanted, and we will see how it goes next year if something comes up.
Yeah, so it's rules and logistical constraints like most countries, which is going to affect you. Just like there are only a few countries that actually have the, let's say, luxury that that can have extensive selection periods. Like America, France, and England are some of those countries that can, we'll have several tournaments and we'll see about that. And most of the countries, and especially with the more financially challenged one, it's mostly sadly about money, which is I want to ask about that for Iceland as well. Is the financial aspect coming to WTC or playing 40K much of a barrier there, or is it more of a uh, simply an interesting? Which would be the bigger barrier for an Icelander to get into 40K and WTC?
For most of the people in Iceland, the financial part is not a problem. We have a very we are a very luxurious land, and yes, most of us have extra income, and it's not really a problem we have financially. No.
Okay, so it's just a numbers issue of players then.
Yeah. It's just, I've been hearing a lot of complaints. Not complaints, but a lot of other countries talking about they are so few and they need extra players, and we are 350,000 living in Iceland, and it was never really a problem. And I like to hear that. I like to laugh at that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the contrast between countries where some of them have no financial constraints at all, which in those countries it's usually getting the players motivated, but some of them have more players motivated than they need, but they are financially not unable to attend the WTC. And there are some like Turkey who are both financially troubled and also don't have enough players. Like we are a country of 80 plus million, but the active 40K community has died here during COVID, and it hasn't been rekindled yet. Has COVID been a similar effect there? I don't know how you guys did your quarantine, so I'm curious that how did COVID affect Iceland and 40K in Iceland?
I think we mostly got affected like everyone else. The end of COVID, it was last year at least, I went to tournaments in England and Netherlands and such, and I felt the rules were pretty much similar in those countries as here. The biggest effect really this had on our community is that the store that had all the tables for us to play closed that room because of COVID, and it was pretty hard to convince them to open it up again. They were very afraid having an outbreak and it being all over the news in Iceland, which is very small. If something happens, everyone knows about it. So we ended up clearing the living room at my house and holding the 40-man tournaments here all year.
Yeah.
That is probably the biggest change COVID had on us.
And that It is a substantial change for sure to rearrange your living room just so you can play 40K. It shows commitment. I gotta admit to that. Uh, how about the TTS, by the way? Because do you guys play TTS over there, or do you prefer real life games?
We definitely prefer the real life games. I feel like some of the team members are just getting in TTS now. Everyone lives very close to each other. It's like sometimes it's a 10-minute walk, sometimes it's a 10 minutes in the car getting to another person to play. So we're usually just playing in person. But some people are getting into TTS now, one-on-one, and as soon as people take the step, they usually are in. So yeah, they're definitely getting some experience from TTS now.
Yeah, the TTS is the games take longer and it's not ideal obviously compared to real life games. You cannot simulate the actual standing on the table as a real person, but it also allows you to essentially use brand new armies because there's no model construct. You don't have to buy and paint the models, so it would be a very nice. It allows that, but it's obviously a subpar experience. So, can you tell me about the, let's say, how do I phrase this correctly? The reception that you have personally received in the international tournaments. That was you said you guys have matched skill level, which is very good, but were you expecting them to play better or worse, or like, do you think, oh, I think we can, like, what was your impression of the international tournament scene?
I feel like I hit a wall at first playing in England. Like a tiny wall. I did want to go and do a bit better than I did at the beginning, but now I've been missing that one game to go undefeated, which I'm pretty happy with. But having gone to a few tournaments in England and other places in Europe, and having go to SoCal and Las Vegas Open, I definitely want to say that people in USA suck. They have like
And sure, we all think that, but we don't say it out loud.
yeah, they have like 10 good players, then they have like 20 okay players, and everything after that is so downhill. Here in Europe, you have every single country having like 10 players, then 20, 30, and then everyone being medium. So having a 200-man tournament in the USA and 200-man tournament in England with the 10 and 10 best are as good, then the top 20 is almost as good, and then everything after top 20 in USA just goes crashing down. So I just wanted to throw that shade out since we're mentioning it.
And also, you guys have, and I think you're doing it on purpose as well, because you guys are in the same group for the first day with USA, along with Latvia and Netherlands. So you guys are definitely going to play against USA.
Yeah, they get to tag along in a group. Looking forward to it. So, and also it's great having Netherlands there. It's nice to have a easy day, having one auto win. So yeah, we're looking very much forward to it.
I like that. I like the shade throwing. I'll be honest with you. So, like you obviously seem like you are following the international scene a bit, and what is your take of the what's your take of the general state of the game and the WTC in general?
I felt like we are always hitting every like 2 or 3 months. The meta is hitting kind of a wall. There's some shit that floats way above everything else. And as soon as that gets fixed, something else floats on top. So really like the WTC having 8-man team with different armies. So if 1 or 2 shit floats up, it's not gonna you still have to find 6 or 7 armies to compete and win the actual match, that is. So I really must like it.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the good aspects of team play versus singles plays, which is going to be my next topic. In team play, it doesn't matter if one army in the game is broken and has like 75% win rate, because you can only take one of them. And the bigger the team size, it means that you'll eventually run out of the best armies, the obvious best choices at least, and you'll have to find good mediocre armies, essentially like the best of the mediocre armies that also fit you, because at that point there's no obvious selection. So you'll have to consider your players, you have to consider the models you have, or realistically play. There might be an army that says that has great potential, but you find it a bit too late. You find it like a day or two before the submission, and you might not have enough time to collect the models. Like, this is different that way, like real life is different that way from TTS. You cannot immediately form that army. On top of that, you need a player to play that army well. You can have 8 great armies, but if your players are inexperienced on those armies, you're going to suffer. And so, have you, like you said, you've selected your team members already, and have they been playing with their factions for a long time, or did any of the players had to change their factions for the WTC?
Have not completely locked in every faction. I was always nervous past months locking something in, because I had a feeling that new rules would be coming out like they are doing now at the 5th.
Yeah,
But
you were correct.
most of us are very flexible and have played a lot of armies, and we pretty much own almost anything. And in the worst case, and we need to gather up one army, we can easily do that, and then we'll have Robert Átni paint it for us. And it's nice to let him know now that he has to do it. But yeah, most of us have played at least 3-4 armies, and I don't think that anyone is really gonna have to play something they haven't played before. So I don't see that becoming a problem for us.
No, okay, so you are advantage. From my interviews with other teams, it looks like you are in an advantage in that regard, because your players are, as you said, play several factions, and especially with the Nephilim book that's coming out in at this point 2 weeks. We'll probably get the leaks by next week, and it's going to shift a lot. It's probably going to be at least at the level we are trying to have at WTC, is going to cause a lot of changes, and I expect some teams might find some niche builds that will work out great, but do it in a sort of secret way. So I'm looking for, so I'll be honest, I'm looking for surprises in the WTC, that some teams have cracked the meta, and the favorites that we assumed would do well might actually not do that great. Do you feel confident in that regard? Do you think you can find the good things quickly?
Yeah, I believe we can be very quick about it. A few of us are single or without kids, and Warhammer is life. So
Yeah.
we're gonna definitely crack it when it comes out. And I am not really worried about our team, but I expect some teams are going to be too smart and outsmart themselves, trying to have something wombo combo thing with this and that, and then it falls apart on itself because it's too smart.
You just described
so short.
You just described Team Germany in 2017. It's like they had all these weird lists that nobody thought, and they seem to have outsmarted themselves, because it didn't work out, not at all. So
Yeah, I believe also with the WTC format that having those 8 teams is the magic number. If you have like 4, maybe 5 teams, you can skew. If you have 4 teams, you can go into fully full blasting psychic, or you can go full mechanicum with big vehicles / big monsters. But having 8 teams, you can't really skew that much into those directions. Although you can do something, but you can't fully commit to it. So I like that having 8 teams. I feel like it's the best number.
yeah, the 8 players, it's also a good number logistically as well. It's maybe theoretically it can be 10, but not really, not necessarily. At this 8 seems fine in our game, and it's also opens an aspect on the pairing too. I agree with you faction wise fully. By the way, it's like 4 seems to be not great because 4 seems to be you are stuck with the best factions. If everybody is actually on top of their game, they'll just like 75% of the like 3 out of 4 of the each team members will be the same faction. But at 8, you are at least going to have you have to differ a little, somehow, and the pairing process on top of it changes everything as well. Like, were you able to practice with any other team versus team format games? Like, were you able to do any friendly games that you were able to test out pairings?
I've been invited to such, and especially on TTS, and you're gonna try like 4v4, 5v5 in the next weeks to really starting the team format. And we've also gotten some laughable offers from Netherlands, try to come and practice in Netherlands with some teams, but we're looking for a real game, you know, so we did decline that real competition.
Yeah, obviously the TTS, like we talked about, it helps, but it's not the best. No, it's not a 100% substitute, and it's the team factions and the pairings process is going to be a challenge. I know from the ticket sales, because obviously I have access to them, that you guys also plan to attend the singles, which makes me have one question. Are you planning to use the same armies for singles as teams?
So I'm not going to the singles. I just don't have time, but I think we are at least 4 of us, if not 5, attending the singles, and
Okay, then
it has not been discussed, but I think they're going to take the same army.
Yeah, okay, let me rephrase the question then. Are you going to make your players use the same armies? Because there are some captains that want to keep everything secret about the team event. Like, don't even play any game publicly. That's kind of secret. So they don't allow, not allow, but they discourage their players to not play singles, especially with the same armies. But there's the other approach of, well, it's good practice. We can have 6 practice games in 2 days, and it would be great, I guess, because we're going to have a good high quality tournament. And so I think if you making them play the same armies is more beneficial than not.
But definitely not make them do anything. They're free to do what they want, but I do not believe in hiding everything. I mean, if you look at sports team, they are not locking them inside at the pre-season and everything is secret. Nobody gets to know anything. Best practice is going out and keep competing against the teams. That is the real test and the real practice and the real moment you learn something. You can't keep it fully in-house. Then you are what do you say? You are limiting yourself. So I would definitely tell them to take their own army if they want to.
Yeah, it's,
getting the extra reps in. If someone learns something, then they are learning some percentage, but we are still learning more percentage about our army, so we are in a plus.
well, that's a good approach, and I agree with that fully, because it's like it's rare that a player has enough practice, especially with that constantly changing meta in that specific army, to say that, okay, I'm done. I played 100 games with this army. That's usually not. Nobody's usually able to do that. Even what we can describe as the professional players, is they have to divert their attention to several armies because of the constant meta changes, and it's not easy to get the perfect experience, let's say. So yeah. So with all that said, how do I say this? Do you trust? You said that you trust your player skills. Do you trust your team in general when it comes to matching up with the other teams? You sort of diss the USA, which I appreciate, by the way. Dissing the USA is always nice. And do you think that you guys have a good shot at the top rankings?
I think we have a good shot at getting the upper quarter, like the top 7 out of 28. But I am not very confident in winning the tournament.
No.
But we are definitely going into every single game, every single match to win it, no matter what team it is. We are definitely going in to win. We are not going in to play out. You know what I mean? Not going in to lose, but winning the tournament is something that is not really an option. I think we have some European teams that I hope for their sake are better than us. But yeah, I think we're at least gonna be up there.
That's a reasonable approach. There are some teams that, like you said, literally go to have fun, which is, I mean, you can do that, but it feels like there are more and more teams who are going there as a more taking the more competition more seriously than, oh, let's just go there and have some beer, because there are a few teams in the mix that do look at it and say, yeah, let's just have some fun. But there are other teams which orient their entire 40k community around the WTC, which is the most prominent example I give about is the Polish community. All their tournaments are WTC oriented, WTC rules, and what they have more team tournaments than singles. What was the WTC's effect on the Iceland 40k community? Do you guys orient yourselves around the team tournament or around the WTC, or do you guys have, oh, it's just a big tournament, it's just the biggest tournament, but we are not going to do anything special for our own calendar?
At the beginning of the year, we went the London GT route with our terrain and such, because most of us guys were going there and competing, but we did not alter anything for the WTC. We have all the London GT terrain for many tables and using that. We only have a single set of WTC, so we haven't been changing our tournaments for that. But most of the team players have been altering their games personally to try to keep WTC in mind. Yeah, it's mostly the player in their games at tournaments and in their practice games trying to think about how certain results affect the WTC scorings and such.
No, that's so it's more of a individual effort more than a communal effort, like a top-down thing. It's more of a bottom-up thing. Okay, that's interesting. So this is a personal question back to you again. Did you said you started attending international tournaments more recently? Did those meet your expectations? I've sort of skipped over this by accident, and I want to get back to that as well. So it's like, what were you expecting? I'm not talking about the skill level because we talked about it. I'm talking about the atmosphere and the community in general. Like, did the international tournament scene meet your expectations?
Yeah, I feel so. Most everyone is really chill, very nice. There's like everyone is friend atmosphere. feel like most, if not everyone of the tournament organizers are always doing their best and always up to assist in any way possible. And I would say so. Definitely say so. Everything's looking good, both in the organization and atmosphere of the tournaments and also the competitive. Yes is the answer.
No, that's good because it's an unfortunate aspect that some players are not so chill as you said. Like you said, everybody's chill, and like, some people are certainly not. But I think there is a more genuine and sincere effort by the community in general to make it more welcoming, to make it where as long as you are decent, at least somewhat respectful, that you will be received finally. Maybe there will be arguments regarding the rules, which is it's the internet and it's nerdy thing. It's we are going to argue about where that comma is supposed to be and if that comma is ever going to affect the two plus or a 3 plus or something. But I think it's going to be a very nice future for 40k, and hopefully GW doesn't fuck it up anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely. I really believe it's going up. I feel Zach having his London Grand Tournament in England I feel like that is a huge push here in Europe. And of course, Frontline Gaming have already established a huge thing in the States, and Games Workshop is just adding a little bit on that. But especially now with Frontline ramping up their tournaments, Zach ramping up his tournament in England, rising tide floats all boats. I believe that communities around England, around Europe, are going to be rising also with England. And I only believe that it's going to go up. And I fully believe in Games Workshop not to fuck it up.
Oh, it's yeah, like I said, and that's actually a very positive message you just said. With the rising tide lifts all boats, because some people in the tournament scene don't feel that, and they feel that by having a tournament it's closer to their own tournament, like somebody else having a tournament, let's say February 5th, and their tournament being February 19th would reduce attendance. Maybe initially it might, but I believe, like you said, that the more bigger tournaments there are, the more interest there is in general, and the pie is not a limited pie. It actually grows, which is, yes, there is some competition in order to get the most players to your tournament. I am a TO with my own tournaments as well, so that I try to stay away from the bigger tournaments, at least in the Germany to Austria region, although I live in Turkey, weirdly. It is a positive aspect that when a Las Vegas Open sells 1,000 tickets, it doesn't really reduce the European attendance, but increases it. It's like people seem to want, why don't we have those 1,000 people tournament, which they actually do. For example, have you heard of the French Wargaming Day?
No, I have not.
Okay. If it is probably the biggest 40k tournament after the Las Vegas Open, it's a doubles tournament with 1,200 people.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, and no one has heard about it. It has been postponed twice because it was dated originally for late 2020, so it has been postponed for 2 years, but nobody knows about it because everything is in French. Every content made about it is in French. All the attendance, like mostly, are French, and there is the Talavera GT in Spain, which is, if I remember correctly, an 8-person team tournament with 600 or so players. And
yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
Huge thing.
Yeah, it's like it is an aspect that I would like to bring the community more together in that, and that's why I'm talking about this in this interview especially. Not just to introduce it to you, but introduce those tournaments in at least being aware of them. It is a challenge for the European communities to advertise in English to the general international community, because they I don't think they feel the need to, because most of their attendance is the local guys who speak their language, which is fine. That's not a problem. I'm not saying they have to go international, but I think every community, this is a message for you as well, by the way, need to produce at least some content in English. And I'm not saying to go start a YouTube channel or anything. That's not what I said. What I want to point out. It's like maybe having the rules pack or the rule set in English format as well, while posting pictures of the tournament, posting it alongside like French or the Icelandic English as well, because I feel we are not, as the community leaders, we can definitely do a better job with making people in the continent aware and showing the Americans that there are actually quite big fish here as well. They obviously the players, the WTC American players are aware of that fact when they come here, and even a country they might not heard of beats them in the tournament. But I think we can do a very better a better job, to say the least, when it comes to promoting and making people aware of what we do. And I'm looking forward to do that with the WTC, even this podcast. And I've learned quite a bit about the Icelandic community, which is always interesting. I think it would be very nice. So
I had this like 2 or 3 years ago. I went to a GT in Sweden, but a cool GT. It was Westeros or something, and almost 200 people. And then someone came on stage and started to talk in Swedish about the tournament. Talked for a very long time. And afterwards, the tournament was going to start, and I was like, "Hey, I don't fully understand your Swedish. What were you saying?" But we are like 14 guys here in tournament, and we usually try to have everything, all announcements in English. Definitely having it open.
yeah, it's and that way people at least can be aware of it as well. It's more like there needs to be some channels of communication, and I think we can do that with the WTC, the Squadcast, with you and me and all the captains. I think we have a positive road ahead. So we are nearing the end of our time here. I don't want to keep you for that longer as well, because you might be busy, and it is a Saturday of the time of recording, so you might have some fun time out. Do you have any shout outs before my final question? Because I do have a final question, but do you like to shout out anybody before that?
No, not really. I feel like I have thrown all shade I wanted to. So
Yeah. Okay. And is there if anybody? This is not my final question, but if there's anybody who wants to get in touch with the Icelandic community, is there a Facebook page or something that they can find you guys?
yeah, we have a Facebook page. It's like Warhammer á Íslandi, which is Warhammer in Iceland, in Icelandic, but it might be hard to find it.
It will be linked. I will ask you for the link, and I'll put it in the description.
I'll put you a link.
Yeah,
yes.
I think that would make it easier.
Yeah, and all the captains, all the captains can message me. They can find me on the Discord server, and I am here and there on some competitive groups. And I believe if you see my name, Heiðar, you will definitely know it's me, because I don't really believe anyone in the world has my name, except some people in Iceland. So yeah, I'm always up for if anyone wants to get in touch with the Icelandic community.
Yeah, and maybe you guys might like this shout out you have actually quite actually resulted in a few skirmish games on TTS as well, so that might be an opportunity in July as well. Okay, so for my final question, this is more of a let's say try to quality assurance for the WTC. I know you haven't attended the ETC or WTC yet, but can you describe your ideal WTC?
I am mostly thinking about the comfort. I mean, the players are always going to be the players. They're going to play and do this and that, and they are usually going to be jolly. It's not, yeah, and having a nice game, but having high ceilings with good air and not going long distances to get to the arena, and maybe having some food that everyone can enjoy, and everything on hand. But I like what Zach has been doing in London. He has been getting food trucks to be around when the tournament is. So if people don't want to walk hard to go to McDonald's or something like that, they can have. He has like 1 or 2 food trucks waiting outside, and yeah, like just trying to have everything by hand that people need, and trying to have the air conditioning going well.
In August, that's definitely a priority for sure.
Yes.
Well, yeah, oh no, that's player comfort then, which is a reasonable request. It's like, I agree with you 100%. Players shouldn't have to walk like 10-15 minutes to get food. Everything should be, at least as an easy option should be available. Maybe they don't want to use it, which is fine. But yeah, it's the high ceilings. Obviously, I agree, and we have that. The AC, we have that as well, so it should be fine. But yeah, I think I'm confident that you will have a very nice WTC this August in Mechelen.
Yeah, please also. We are all very excited for it.
Yeah, and we are excited as well as the Orga part, and it's going to be a very fun event with 28 teams. It's higher than I expected, but even these challenging times, people seem to find a way, which is very nice. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. I enjoyed this podcast greatly, and it was a good insight to the Icelandic community.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, man.
And yeah, maybe I'll call you for another episode for next year of 2023. Who knows what will happen by then? Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks to everybody for listening, and hope you guys join in the next episode of the WTC Squadcast Into the Squad. Have a nice day.